Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we are talking about what might be next up for Atomic Mass Games as far as a new miniatures game or a new line of miniatures, whether it be a all new game altogether or kind of branching off of something else. There are a lot of different ideas on what it might be, and I also want to just caveat this with they have a new board game with the new fast snap fit miniatures that are coming out. They're already launching other things like as we speak. So I don't think a brand new miniatures game is coming out anytime in the immediate future. But like any company, they are probably planning many, many years ahead. They've talked about that already. And I'm sure there's plenty of things that are on the drawing board somewhere. So I thought it'd be fun to take a minute and look at some things that could happen and then things that might be likely based on different licenses that AMG has, that Asmodee has, and therefore that AMG has access to, as well as some in-house brands that it might also be able to pull from for whatever they end up doing next. Share your thoughts down in the video description below. Plus, we're still doing that $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my other videos. It's as simple as that. I want to start things off with a license that would be it'd have to be an all-new license. But this is a really fun one that I thought would be a really cool thing. A couple of years ago, I did an April Fool's joke for what if a Pokemon miniatures game came to Atomic Mass Games, or it was basically saying that there was one, because look, April Fool's Day is one of those days that I always kind of cut loose and do something crazy. And it did get a whole lot of comments. It got a whole lot of attention, and I think a lot of people really kind of liked the idea and were talking about it. And it definitely got me thinking, in all seriousness, a Pokemon miniatures game would probably do really, really well. There's tons of new Pokemon. The card game is massively popular. The video games are massively popular. The universe is massively popular. There's so many Pokemon that they could do. The poses and the sculpts and things would be really cool. They could even put them like in Pokeballs. There's a lot of really cool ideas that they could do with a Pokemon miniatures game, although that would also mean they'd have to jump into another license, which again might be worth it, might not, I don't know. It's one that none of the Asmodee studios are already making Pokemon games or anything like that, so I think that one's kind of a little bit unlikely, and that's kind of what made it fall into an April Fool's joke. But this definitely was part of the inspiration for this video. And if you want to check that out, I have a whole April Fool's playlist of really fun, silly videos that I've done all throughout the years, every year for like the past, I don't know, 10 years or so. I don't remember how long it's been, but I've been doing April Fool's videos every April 1st, and I don't plan on stopping. So, consider this your warning for next April 1st. But I do think Pokemon would be a pretty cool one. Now, a little bit more likely, looking at some licenses that they already have, right? Asmodee already has a Lord of the Rings license. It definitely would be something that might make sense. Now, you already have the Middle Earth strategy game that GW has, so there may not be the same level of licensing for a Lord of the Rings miniatures game from AMG. Now, Fantasy Flight had made Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle Earth, which definitely was, again, more of a dungeon crawl, sort of map exploration, cooperative, sort of, players versus the system, app-driven game, but it did have miniatures. So it wouldn't be completely out of the question for a miniatures to be made with Lord of the Rings under Asmodee at the same time that GW has the Middle Earth strategy battles game. So like that, because that has already happened. So would it be that much more of a stretch to see them doing an actual Lord of the Rings like war game? I think it's possible. It certainly could work, and obviously there would be competition with GW's game, and maybe that's part of the nature of things, right? Like I feel like when Legion launched, it was a major competitor for GW. Like FFG, X-Wing, and Armada were all doing really, really well, and they had beaten. There was a lot of and Legion has always kind of been like a good competition point for 40K, right? So would it be completely out of the question that Asmodee would want to maybe compete with GW, with doing a Lord of the Rings game. It probably would have to be a game that's sufficiently different enough from the existing Middle-earth game, and it probably would be licensed maybe based on the movies rather than the books, or vice versa, or something like that. Like, there'd have to be some kind of distinctions. I don't know, and that may make it too close. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Do you think a Lord of the Rings possible game could work if they were to change it up somehow? Maybe make the scale a little bit smaller, maybe make the scale a little bit bigger, so we have like bigger guys and it's like only like 3 versus 3 or something like that. Or maybe, 10mm miniatures and now you have a whole army versus a whole army, something. Let me know your thoughts. Lovecraft, again, is another big one for Asmodee. They have done miniatures before as well. Of course, they have like Cthulhu Death May Die, right? So like you have lots of miniatures with that. I don't really see that being like the standard war game, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't sort of do something outside of the box and come up with some kind of Lovecraftian miniatures game. Again, this one may be a little bit far-fetched, but it also, is within the realm of possibility because that license for some reason is very, very popular under Asmodee. I'm not a particularly big fan of like the Lovecraft stuff, so for me it's like I could probably pass, but at the same time it would be interesting to see if they could do like a game that plays very, very differently, that's still a miniatures game, and I guess you'd have a hard time making it distinct. It would have to be very distinct from the like the zombie side or the Cthulhu Death May Die kind of running away from lots of monsters and trying to outsmart them and, and things like that. You'd have to make it somehow different. Again, this is one I'm not sure if they'll do. We're getting into the things that are maybe a little bit more likely coming up. Now, Rune Wars, or the Runebound, or the Terranoth and the Descent universe and all of that. This is one where I think is a lot more likely. I would definitely love to see, again, and this kind of goes back to a video I talked about earlier with Fantasy Flight. Love to see Rune Wars come back. And I do think that if Rune Wars were to come back, it would probably be something that would be done over at Atomic Mass Games rather than still done by Fantasy Flight. Although, either way, I wouldn't care who did it. This was a really cool system. Love to see it come back. But I think if AMG were to do it, it wouldn't be the exact same Rune Wars, the miniatures game. Might be a whole different miniatures game in the Terranoth kind of realm. Maybe using a lot of these same miniatures. Maybe it wouldn't be a rank and file game. Maybe it would be more of like just a classic, medieval fantasy style war game. Maybe inspired a little bit from Rune Wars, but its own separate game. Who knows? I could see this being a thing. Also would be there to kind of sort of compete with maybe Age of Sigmar or the Old World or something like that. I think this is a little bit closer to the realm of possibility of something that AMG could potentially do. Another good thing about this whole universe is something that Asmodee owns. It's something in-house. This wouldn't have to pay any licensing fees or anything like that. So it would be able to continue to thrive even if sales weren't quite as high because, again, you're not paying that license fee. And so that's a fun thing. It also would have, a following of people who did play this excellent game for the short time it was actually out. And, I think it could, I would be really excited to cover this if they were to bring something like this back, because it was very, very fun, and had like the worms especially were very cool, and the golems were also especially cool. There's a lot of cool stuff that went into this game, so love to see it come back. All right, we're kind of most of the way through the video, but I do want to talk about a new feature that we're doing on Patreon right now, where periodically members at the X-Wing level and above are going to be able to submit questions that I will then give them a shout out and answer on my videos, and this is something that, again, that's up right now for existing patrons at the X-Wing level or higher, to give them a little bit more, and we're just trying something out. So today's question comes from a longtime patron, Peter Von Bleichert. He says, "Hi, Crabbok. You said Rebellion was your favorite 2-player board game. What are some others? Also, do you play X-Wing at all anymore at your FLGS, or just fly casual?" Now, first off, thank you. Excellent questions, and shout out and thanks for being a patron. So first, let me answer X-Wing. I do not play X-Wing anymore at my FLGS. The stores, both stores that I used to play X-Wing at, have closed down, and I have not physically played X-Wing at a store, and I played once or twice. When my friend JJ would come to town, I used to play with him a little bit, but I think it's been a couple of years. I think it's been at least 2, or if not 3 years since I've played X-Wing in person, in physical X-Wing. Now, I used to enjoy it. I actually think I got rid of a lot of my cardboard stuff because I definitely wanted to keep all the miniatures. I still have all of the miniatures, but I've gotten rid of the cards, and the cardboard and list building ended up being so cumbersome to me that I just decided I wasn't going to physically play anymore. So when I do still play X-Wing, I'll use Fly Casual. I tend to play, I know there's multiple versions. I'll play the Legacy version of X-Wing because that one was closer to it's like the 2.0 style. I didn't really like the 2.5 style, and the funny thing is I actually am a sucker for like old 1.0 X-Wing, but that's maybe a little too old at some point. I'd love to see that kind of come back if it could have been redone in that system and maybe a little bit more balanced. But as X-Wing's gone through so many rules revisions and complete overhauls, at a certain point I started to just lose interest because I just didn't have all the rules memorized, or I was getting different rules kind of crisscrossed in my head. And while that's probably fine for a lot of casual players, when you're a content creator trying to make videos, everything you get wrong gets magnified. So I'm a little more self-conscious about when I'm fuzzy on the rules. It's one of the things that kind of pushed me away from X-Wing. So I still play, and that's one of the reasons I like Fly Casual, because it handles almost all of that stuff for me. So I have to think about it less. And when I do play, it's still seldom, but it's a little more relaxed for me. Now, as far as the question about board games, I don't know if you were asking what are some of my others, like my favorite board games or my favorite 2-player board games. So I'll give you both answers. So outside of Star Wars Rebellion, some other 2-player board games that I love to play, Unmatched. Now, that's one of the, some of these you can play more than 2, but they play well with 2. Unmatched is a fantastic game system based on the old Star Wars Epic Duels that Restoration Games puts out. The Star Wars deck building game, big surprise hit. Really enjoyed that one by Fantasy Flight. New expansions coming out. Splendor and Point Salad are 2 popular ones around here. Again, those can play more. And of course, I've been playing a lot more Magic the Gathering. Again, some of those are card games, but still tabletop gaming, right? But I've been playing Commander and Magic the Gathering a lot lately, and I've been really enjoying that. Now, as far as board games that overall, not just board games that are 2-player, some of my favorites outside of Rebellion, Great Wall by Awaken Realms, amazing game, long, kind of heavy, meaty game, and surprisingly, it does play moderately well at 2 players, but it's definitely designed for like 3 or 4. Definitely, I think 4 is a really good spot for Great Wall. It's a fantastic, phenomenally well-designed game. Really, really good. Nemesis, also by Awaken Realms, really, really good. Thunder Road, also by Restoration Games, extremely, extremely good, fun, silly kind of fun game. And then also definitely one of my favorites, and maybe like my number 2 spot, Rising Sun, an Eric Lang game that I backed on Kickstarter. Absolutely love Rising Sun. I wish it had a solid 2-player. I wish you could play it with 2, but it plays well with 3. The more you have, the better it becomes. Rising Sun, absolutely like A+, wonderful game. It's a masterpiece. It's practically perfect. I really, really love it. Which does lead me to my all-time favorite board game, and a game I play surprisingly little because how difficult it is. Twilight Imperium. Twilight Imperium, number 1. I can't play it, not 2-player, but probably my favorite board game because the experience of playing it is, it's a whole day. You plan, you can plan weeks in advance. You have your whole day based around it. It becomes your whole weekend, right? When you're playing Twilight Imperium, it's not a day wasted. It's a day of joy and glory, and you talk about those games, so love Twilight Imperium. So whether you wanted board games in general or 2-player board games, hopefully I give you both answers. For you patrons out there that are X-Wing level or higher, there is again, there's a post on Patreon that you can ask your questions. I'll let you know when the video is going up for where I'm be answering your question in a video. So thanks, Peter. All right, moving on. I did say Twilight Imperium. Oddly enough, interesting segue. So back to the video of stuff that AMG could make another miniatures line for. Twilight Imperium is a very, very popular world and a very, very popular IP and universe, and definitely would be a possible setting for a miniatures game. Now, while Twilight Imperium is predominantly a fleet-based game that it definitely involves ships, it doesn't mean that that's the only thing you could do with it. There's definitely, there's people, there are alien races. You could do a ground invasion style thing with Twilight Imperium if AMG wanted to do that, or if they wanted to do a fleet-based game, they could also do that. This is a universe, again, that Asmodee owns, that wouldn't have to be a licensing fee. And Twilight Imperium is it's probably their biggest IP that they have in-house. It's a massively popular game, and it's been making a lot more like popularity. Like, it's been mentioned on like talk shows and actors and stuff like that in interviews. People talk about Twilight Imperium. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal, and it would probably be less and less of a gamble as time goes on. I'd love to see a Twilight Imperium miniatures game or war game actually come out. It'd be very, very cool. The last one we have on this list is one you probably might not have expected, is one I don't talk about very often, but I did want to throw in here for the sake of it being kind of noteworthy, and that's Legend of the Five Rings. Now, Legend of the Five Rings wasn't always an Asmodee property, but they did purchase this a few years ago from AEG, so this is actually something they have completely in-house, and they own it in its entirety at this point. So they could make Legends of the Five Rings into a miniatures game. Now, there's a lot of games already for Legend of the Five Rings there, and there are also miniatures for it, but not in a standard like war game, right? And I was thinking like the feudal Japan setting. There are some games that are in that setting, and they are beautiful, but this also does add that kind of elemental magic, right? So if you wanted to take your best like samurai universe and then add like I don't want to say airbending and waterbending and stuff from Avatar, The Last Airbender and stuff like that, but like you do have that sort of vibe going on with this game, and like the time could be really good to plan this out. The Avatar The Last Airbender movie just went live on streaming, and then there's like another series and stuff like that, and there's that new game video game that just came out for it and stuff. And so I feel like Avatar The Last Airbender is kind of hot right now, and this would probably be a cool time to launch a miniatures game in that world. Plus, considering all of the elemental magic they have in here, like you could probably give you some really cool poses and some really cool sculpts for Legend of the Five Rings if they were to do a miniatures game in here. I think this could be a really cool option that would work. And again, it's a game that's also been around for a very long time. It would definitely have some appeal to a lot of people who are familiar with it already, and it would have a little bit of that household recognition. Could be a cool option. So those are some different universes and inspirations for what might be a future miniatures game for Atomic Mass Games. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Let me know what you agree with, what you don't agree with. Also, check out our sponsors. There's links in the video description below. You can save if you know somebody who's going to be getting Battle Foam, or if you're thinking about getting Battle Foam, use code Crabbok VIP, save 15%. If you have a game topper and you're looking for extra mats and accessories, use code Crabbok 15. Links to game toppers and to Battle Foam in the video description below. Very great products. If you've ever been to a convention and played a board game there, you've probably played on a Game Toppers table topper or a Game Toppers table. And they have amazing play mats and awesome accessories, everything from cup holders to the dice towers and everything in between. So very cool stuff. You check the links out, use those codes, check those guys out. I wouldn't talk about them if I didn't love the product. All right, that's it. I'm going to wrap this video up. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. I will talk to you later. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are amazing. And be sure to check out all of the new stuff we have over there on Patreon. I will talk to you later. May the force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. And always wash your socks.